Let's do a minute of Glenn Beck. I'm not going to do a lot of this because I don't care. Oh, Ben Shapiro's
welcome.
Editor Emeritus. Nerd alert.
How you doing?
Well, I found something out, and I don't think this...
By the way, he's given up on his folksy bullshit routine, and he's just back to moon-base asshole.
This is true. You would have said something about it, but I don't want to ambush you here, but I've heard...
I think this is going to... What do you think? He's going to be cute about something?
That you're Jewish.
Yeah. Ew.
Is that true?
Well, I can't believe... You can't believe everything you hear.
Look at how he's stumbling around this. I think he's Jewish. Holy cow, Ben. It's out now. I mean, you might as well live with it. I just thought you always wore...
Next you'll be telling people that I like control a space laser and...
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
I heard...
We don't talk about these things.
I swear to you, you told me that little hat you wore was just too small. It was a gap that you had as a kid.
Ouch. A small hat gag.
And it was too small. And I believed it. It's... Okay. Well, Ben...
That was great. Minute in, and we're all creeped out. And it was just a weird, soft-pedaled anti-Semitic bullshit joke. We're buddies. I could shit on him for being a Jew. Come on.
I tried to keep it going as long as I could, Glenn.
Right. Gosh, you know what, Ben? It is what's going on now is as insane as what I just said to you.
That's not materially possible.
It's just insane what the mainstream media is now trying to portray. There was a great article. Congratulations on the article from NPR. A great article where they have deemed that you are a great danger now because of what you are building over at the Daily Wire. And they point to you and to us and to Breitbart.
Really? They included you with Breitbart and Daily Wire? Glenn? They just throw you in for good measure?
And they say...
Or bad measure?
...that you are affecting millions of people, and they don't know that you're a conservative. They have no idea that the Daily Wire is really a conservative outlet.
They're not.
How can they possibly say something like... It's marked at the bottom of every single page of every article. How can they possibly say that? It's
well, because they're advocating for principal positions that are counter to genuine conservatism, and they're helping to they're living off the Trump cult like a tick, but pretending that they're not living off the blood of the dog.
Sanity.
I mean, it is crazy, but it's perfectly predictable because right now, when you watch Joe Biden and the New York Times and
if you haven't seen their live show, it's amazing.
The entire media and democratic infrastructure combined to basically say that social media is the problem and needs to be reined in. Things that are wrong. They just mean...
Whoops, sorry.
It needs to, quote-unquote, cut out misinformation. And by misinformation, they don't actually mean things that are wrong. They just mean stuff they don't like.
Yes.
Well, no. There's a distinction between misinformation and disinformation. When they talk about misinformation, they're talking about, Facebook lunatics. When they're talking about disinformation, they mean you and Glenn Beck.
It's not.
You're actively saying shit you don't believe.
Not anything of a surprise. They've been doing this since 2016. So before 2016, I know everybody has a short memory. Before 2016, everybody in the media loved Facebook, right? Because Facebook was the place where Barack Obama won the 2012 election. Mm-hmm. Facebook was he had figured out these brilliant strategies. Then Trump wins.
Then the Russians figured out you could buy political ads, and Facebook wouldn't stop them.
2016. And they've got to find some rationale for why Hillary Clinton, the worst candidate in American history, lost. And it can't be that she's the worst candidate, because that would mean she was the worst candidate. It's got to be something else. And so what they come up with is, it's Facebook. Facebook allowed Russian dissemination of disinformation.
Yeah, they did.
Facebook allowed dissemination.
They took payment for political ads in rubles, you garden gnome.
Of disinformation via the Trump campaign and all this. Now, there was a subtle shift that happened here where the critique went from Russian disinformation, which would be, that actually has a definition. That would be active foreign intervention in an American election via false propaganda to
Yeah, and they have receipts in payment in rubles.
misinformation, right? They shifted from disinformation, which could be targeted, to misinformation, which now
Right, because most of you guys are just dumbasses.
includes anything they don't like. So
Well, no, I mean, sure, they don't like a lot of things, but they're not calling it all misinformation.
So they will just scrub the Hunter Biden article because that is quote unquote misinformation, even though it's true.
No, that was disinfo, for the record.
And in this NPR article, they rip Daily Wire not because we report things that aren't true. They admit in the article that we don't report things that aren't true. They quote some sort of quote unquote expert, professor at an Ivy League university, saying that
Yeah, it can't be trusted. Those places are run by Jews.
any true fact, quote unquote, stripped of context, can become misinformation.
Yeah, just about. I would say any. I mean, obviously, if you strip context from gravity, it's still true, but, you know.
To say that if you're conservative and you give context for information in a way that leftists don't like, this
Or none at all.
now constitutes misinformation.
No, if you, like Greg Kelly or Sean Hannity does, where you use half a sentence and you cut it off, then it's disinfo. I wouldn't call it misinfo.
And that's what this entire campaign is about. There's this extraordinarily perverse thing that has happened with regard
Oh, God. I don't like it when Glenn Beck and Ben Shapiro talk about perverse things.
to how we consume information in the United States. It used to be that you would bookmark a place like Daily Wire or The Blaze and you'd go directly
No, you wouldn't.
there. And then
No, you wouldn't.
because social media is so convenient, people get Daily Wire or The Blaze or Breitbart from their newsfeed on Facebook. And the left noticed that all of the dissemination of information was now centralized in one place. And then they said, okay, well, what if we just now bottleneck that? What if we just strangle in the crib all of these conservative organizations
Jesus.
by telling the disseminator of information to just cut off the faucet? And that's what NPR is doing right now. They're trying to reestablish an establishment media monopoly with the help of the Democratic Party. And apparently your taxpayer dollars is NPR. They're trying to do all of that by basically pressuring Facebook into preventing anything they don't like from ever seeing the light of day.
They don't like, or stuff that is provably false, which would be misinfo or disinfo. That would be the problem, Ben. Now, I haven't read the NPR article, so I'm going to stop today because I went over time. If it was you and I'd started the show with this clip, we just go and find the article, and then I'd read through it as we did it and find out that Ben is talking out of his ass again with Glenn Beck, and that this is just more right-wing paranoia. But I'll look into it, and I will incorporate this in because it seems to be coming up at a couple of different clips I've seen. And so I want to address the whole thing and read it and see if indeed NPR is trying to destroy the Daily Wire because they can say misinfo is anything they don't like, and that they are trying to strangle the Daily Wire in the crib. Now, that analogy is grotesque and kind of weird, and I suppose plays on anti-choice activists' worst nightmares, but also makes sense if you listen to Ben Shapiro's voice.